These times are strange, it's quite surreal. It's never been like this. Remembering the good old days when we could hug and kiss. Back to gyms and restaurants and move through public settings. We'd give high fives and drink at dives, hold hands and dance at weddings. Now the days are longer, yet the darker in the way. We're pressing pause on normalcy, just going day by day. But we can still make jokes and art, garden, dance and sing. Cook, read books, try on fun looks and learn about new things. We can talk with friends of ours and have a heart to heart, just so long as we all stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical, so step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to 6 Feet Apart Productions and our second anniversary. Yay, us. Oh, 2 years. Now, sadly, it's not all about me. I wish it was, but it's not. And so I'm going to have to bring on my co-producer, Regina Stoops. Sorry. Regina, please join me. Hi, Regina. How are you feeling?
I'm just fine, Claire. Just fine enough to hear your disparaging marks around me. Seriously.
Now, Regina's showing
internet.
What it's like then when we first started. She's deliberately looking really weird and not very well, and sounding a bit like a Dalek, because that's how we started off 2 years ago. No, Regina, tell us why you are feeling a little bit under the weather.
True. And now why I'm on crappy internet is because I have COVID and I'm hunkered down in a hovel in the house, and there's bad internet here. Okay. My internet has COVID along with me.
I have to say, I knew what you were saying, but I could only hear every third word. So basically, I'm going to like translate that she's quarantining in her bedroom, in her house, because she's got COVID and has had it for 5 days and is feeling rubbish. So she's joining us for a little bit and she'll come back at the end, but otherwise she's banned from talking, just in case I catch some nasty germs. Okay, Regina, just hold on there a moment. I can't hear a word you're saying. So before we go any further, what I'd like to do is bring on our backstage audience. So we've got all the tellers and we've got some guests in the backstage. So hi, everybody. Everybody wave, say hi. Lovely to see you all. How fabulous to have you all here. Great. Okay, so now, Regina, you're... I can only hear every fourth word. So what did you say? No, nothing. I think Regina is going to be my silent partner for tonight. So welcome to everybody on YouTube. Hope you're well. Please put your name in the comments. We'll try and get to you during the show. Now, we did have that little prompt. I don't know whether any of you read it. Probably not, because nobody ever reads anything. But there's a little prompt that tell us what your best or worst or most memorable birthday or anniversary was. And I'll see if I can get to some of those during the show.
I said every 4.
I think Regina's gone now. Completely gone madness. So tonight we've got a fabulous show. We've got loads of giveaways, which is going to be really fantastic. So one of the things that we can do is we can give away something right now. Is we've got a free YouTube ticket to one of our wonderful audience members, or anybody in the audience, whether they're backstage or on YouTube. So here's the wonderful hat. I'm going to pull out somebody. Lynn Jaffe, don't know how to say your name. I will be in contact with you. Lynn, she's backstage with us, so I'll make sure. So we'll get you, and you'll have a free YouTube voucher for a show of your choice choosing in the future. So that's good. Now, what's next? We are going to also, by the way, at the end of the show, after we've had all the tellers, we've got the fabulous Corey Rosen. Unfortunately, couldn't be with us tonight. So he recorded the most amazing anniversary song. It's only short, but it is so fantastic. So don't leave before you hear Corey's song. Absolutely wonderful. And now the next thing we're going to give away as well before we start is one of our 6 feet apart notebooks. So you can write fabulous stories. And the person who gets that is, let me see, Alan DeBay. There, he's in our backstage too. Ooh, Alan, you get a notebook. Wonderful. Okay, now we're going to start the show. So as usual, we're going to bring all our storytellers to the stage one at a time. I'm going to interview them very quickly before, well, not too quickly, a little bit quickly beforehand. And they're going to tell us ask a few questions. I'll ask not too personal a question, but we'll tell them something. And then they're going to tell their story. Most of their stories hopefully will be child friendly, but just in case, keep an eye on your kids in case they suddenly F-bomb or something. Can't be guaranteed that they won't, but I think they'll be fine. So our first storyteller is the most fabulous Kim Whitecamp. Now, Kim, as she gave, a lot of our storytellers just said, yes, I'm going to give you free stuff as well for all your audience members. And Kim said, very kindly, she's given us a code, which is 6 feet. We'll put it on the screen in just a moment. There it is on the screen. And if you go to kimwhitecamp.com, you can download one of her albums for free. You've got 4 days to do this until Sunday, May the 29th, but put 6 feet into, go to Kim Whitecamp's thing and you can download an album. So lovely, lovely Kim, thank you very much. That's for anybody, bless her. How kind is she? Now, I'm sure everybody knows who Kim Whitecamp is, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a bio. She said she likes to say how she grew up in Amish country as the red-headed middle child of exhausted parents. She was labelled by teachers as high-spirited, uncooperative and talkative. I think they might be talking about me too. And Kim took all those comments and channeled them into a lovely storytelling career. And I'd just like to say thank you, teachers of Kim Whitecamp, because we got to have the wonderful Kim. She's also an author and amazing musician, a humorist, and she's performed all over the world. Too many awards, probably needs another house and outhouse to put them in, as do all our tellers tonight. She did a fantastic story and sung beautifully on a show of ours called Every Song's a Story in March 2021. So that's free on our website or YouTube channel. Do go and watch that at some point because she did a wonderful story. And one of the things you might not know about Kim is that she's very good at sewing and knitting. And she's got the honour of getting me involved in sewing again. Well, no, not sewing, knitting. I can't sew. So I did some knitting because she said it's very good for ADHD. So we'll find out. I'm still rubbish at it at the moment. So all information obviously on her website, kimwhitecamp.com. But let's welcome to our virtual stage, Kim Whitecamp. Hi, Kim. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good, good, good. Now, you gave us a lovely picture of you as a baby, and you were redheaded, weren't you?
Oh, total hardcore redhead. To about 43, 45, I was visiting my mom, and she said, "Why are you dyeing your red hair?" And I'm like, "I'm not dyeing it." And I really went and looked at it, and I'm like, it started going blonde. So
you were red until in the mid 40s, and then you went blonde. Wow.
I think that's about when I started touring with Andy.
So it's actually grey then.
Yeah. Now I just run with it and it's all natural. Blonde, 46.
Excellent.
I do miss my red hair.
Now, we asked everybody this question. Tell us about your most memorable birthday or anniversary. Do you have anything that's best, worst?
Most memorable birthday or anniversary.
Or a gift that was particularly memorable?
I remember I had a birthday party at the roller skating rink, and I had my first boyfriend, Rick Armstrong, and he upset me, so we broke up. And then I know this is silly, but it's still a really lovely memory. So I went to the bathroom, skated to the bathroom with my girlfriends around me for protection, and was putting on Bonnie Bell lip gloss because that's what we did, right, in the 70s. And I heard that he had made a song, did a song request for us. And so I skated out of the bathroom and he was there waiting, and he handed me, before we skated to the song, you know, the machines that you put the penny in and you can put in the letters and then crank it through and it puts your initials on the penny.
Oh, yes.
And so, of course, I forgave him because, you know, who won't forgive somebody when they give you a flattened penny with your initials on?
How old were you then at the time?
Oh, I'm going to say I was probably sixth grade. I
don't know what that means. I'm English.
What is that? I don't know. It's been a long time. I'm 56.
You always do.
I don't know.
It's funny how everybody in America always does people's age by their grades, and for the rest of the world, it's completely incomprehensible.
Is it really?
Yeah, I have no clue what that means.
Okay, so I think 5th grade. I have a 16-year-old grandson. He's 10. So I don't know, like 12 maybe?
About 12. Okay.
Am I right on everybody? Yes, no?
And have you still got that penny?
Florence is saying no, but she also said she was drinking in the chat, so we can't count on her. I don't know how old it is, but it was like about 5th grade, yeah.
Oh, how funny. Did you still have the penny, or did you throw it away?
Oh, I don't have it.
Oh, Kim, that's not romantic at all, is it? Right.
I ended up breaking up with him like 3 weeks later, so happy birthday. But yeah, young love, right?
Oh, how funny, Kim. So funny. Okay, everyone sit back. Kim's going to tell a story now. So get yourself ready, Kim. Let's hear your story. Now it's called Schooled by the Old.
Yes, and I'm still figuring out the name. You are lucky to be part of a new story. It is not new as in the first time out of my mouth, but it is newer. And I'm still working on it to get it onto an album. So I'm like, how lovely that I would share it with these folks. And I think I'm just going to call it Schooled, because the word old bothers me, because what is old? My daughters are 32 and 34, and they think I'm old, and I'm only 56. I'm 56, so I think like 100 is old, right? It shifts as we grow, right? I actually like to call people that are older than me elders in a respectful wisdom way, and I mean that. But I want to talk about growing old and some of the ways I've been schooled by these elders in my life. I like to gather the golden coins from these people and tuck them away, because I know that someday we may not be together. And I can pull out those golden coins, those memories and fun things that we experienced, and kind of hold it in my hand and feel the weight of the memory and that just that heaviness that lays there that you can remember into. And there are some funny times where I've gathered golden coins from my elders and where they have schooled me. I have prided myself on being a person that does not stereotype. And I have to tell you that over a period of probably the last 4 years in particularly, I have learned that I still was stereotyping people that were older than me. And I found that shocking, but they would share things and do things. And I go, oh my goodness, I would have never thought that at your age. And I go, oh my gosh, Kim, what are you doing? And so some of the golden coins I've collected. Funny things, sometimes funny things. I was visiting my mother-in-law, and what I do is when I'm going to go see my mom-in-law, who only lives a mile away, I'm one of her caregivers. We have 3 of us. And I always look on the camera in the kitchen to make sure that she's not sleeping before I pop over, because I don't like to interrupt her sleep. She needs it. She doesn't sleep well at night. Well, I looked and she was sleeping, but I was already on my way there. So I'm like, okay, just be quiet, go in and get settled. So I came through the kitchen door because I have keys, and I tiptoed through the living room and sat down in the wing chair beside her wing chair, and she was out, right? And I'm looking at what she's watching on television, and it was a lovely kind of like a news show called Conversations on Being Asian. And I was like, well, this is interesting that she's watching this. This is wonderful. And it was interesting. And she moved a little bit and looked up and saw me, and she said, oh, I didn't know you arrived. She said, I was just resting my eyes, and it'd been like 10 minutes of eye resting. And I talked to her for a little bit, and I said, this is a really interesting show. She said, well, you know what? She said, it's not interesting to me at all. They said it was Conversations on Being Aged, and I've not learned a thing. Little golden coin into my pocket. She's 87. And even though that's a gentle, small thing, it isn't. Because when she is no longer here, I can pull out the little weight of that happy moment and hold it in my hand. I also had a dear friend, Margaret Billmeyer, who I met her when she was 96 and was friends with her until she passed at 105. Margaret was a fascinating woman. She hosted me at a festival that I did in Kansas, and we instantly connected, became pen pals on a regular basis, phone calls, and when I could, I would dip in to see her depending on where I was traveling in the United States. Well, she loved to tell me stories, and those stories fill my heart even though she's gone, little golden coins that I've tucked away. One of the stories started out like this. Kim, she talks really loud. Kim, I was on my way to church driving, and when I woke up, and that's the beginning of that story. And she walked in after she woke up with her car on the curb, gave her keys to her son, and never drove again. She checked herself into the nursing home, got tired of people stopping by her house to check in on her. And so she packed a suitcase, walked 2 blocks up, 1 block over, and went in and checked herself in. Well, I was heading from Omaha to another part of Nebraska. And so I scooped down into Downs, Kansas. Where's Alan? I saw Alan, you know who I'm talking about, and decided to give her a visit at the nursing home. And we had a lovely time. And Margaret is unforgettable. We were walking through the hallway, she with her walker, and we were talking. And she looked up and said, "Oh, you see that nurse over there? I used to babysit her when she was skinny." Oh, the things you can say when you're getting older. So these are some of the little golden coins that I have tucked away. But never more so had I been schooled or gathered golden little coins to tuck away than when I had my yarn shop. I had a yarn shop for 4.5 years. I just closed it down not too long ago in November. And I had a front area lounge with couches and chairs and tables and a coffee and tea nook. And very quickly, I mean, within days, women were stopping in to purchase and then seeing the lounge. And that lounge was filled up all the time with women of all ages, any ages from 8, 18, all the way up to 87, 93. I'm thinking of Marilyn was 93, a wonderful group of women. And the ladies in that group that would sit in that lounge would school all of us. There was one woman who told us that her husband, who was getting up there, and they were in their 80s, she said, "You know, he's getting some unusual smells about him, and I have found a way to deal with it." She said, "I take a little tissue, I put some Vicks vapor rub on it, and I tuck it into the left bra strap. I keep him constantly to my right, and when the smells become too much, I just turn my head, take a good nostril filling whiff, and then I'm good to go." Schooled. How else would I know this trick? It's absolutely beautiful. One woman, she's Italian, her husband was having prostate issues, and she said they decided to name the prostate Donna. Well, of course, we all wanted to know in the lounge, why Donna? And she goes, "Donna, touching my prostate." Beautiful things that I get to tuck away, things that have made me also realize that I was stereotyping, especially when it came to being intimate. Some of our favorite times in the lounge were the "he thinks he's going to get lucky" moments, when these women who are of more mature age would share things with us about their intimate life. And here are some of the things that I learned. One woman said, "I know he thinks he's going to get lucky when after dinner he's in front of the TV clipping his toenails." What does that even mean? Somebody could fill me in on that one. I don't even get that one, but it cracked me up. One woman said, "I know he thinks he's going to get lucky when I go into the bathroom to brush my teeth at bedtime. He's already in bed and his teeth aren't in the cup. He knows that he thinks he's going to get lucky." Well, these are the beautiful things that I've gotten to gather over all of this time, but never more than this one particular time did I have a shock. And I learned that I needed to celebrate until their last breath every human, because they all want to be beautiful, loved, passionate, adored, and intimate. There was a woman that walked into the shop one day. It was about 5:45. She had a patent leather purse in the crook of her arm, a nice little A-line skirt, comfortable ortho shoes, memory foam hair, And she walked in through the door and she said, "Oh, what a yarn shop." Well, I was getting ready to clean up and I said, "Well, tell me, what is it that you do?" Because that's what I asked everybody that would walk through the door. "What do you do? What do you make?" And she lifted her hands and they were gnarled and twisted. She goes, "Oh, honey, I used to knit, but I can't anymore." She said, "But I love a good yarn shop." I said, "Well, you take a loop around and you look at everything, you touch it, you pet it, you put it on your neck. It's a thing we do with yarn." And I said, "If you need anything, you let me know." She said, "I will." Off she went. She made a long loop around the store, taking her time, and came back to the front. And instead of chatting and maybe leaving, she took another loop. And I noticed on the first time through, and then on the second time through, she had stopped at a small table we kept in the back corner. Well, on that second time through, when she stopped and paused there and was really inspecting everything on that table, I thought, I need to go talk to her. And so I went down to that little corner and I looked at her and I said, "Do you know what is on this table?" And she said, "I think I do, but I'm not sure." And I said, "Well, I'm going to explain what it is." I said, sometimes when a woman is diagnosed with a particular thing, she needs to undergo a surgery and a procedure, sometimes because of one issue, sometimes because of two. After that procedure, she either has to get reconstructive surgery, implants, or some kind of prosthetic, all of them sometimes foreign to the body, sometimes expensive, sometimes heavy and sweaty. But I said, not anymore. Here in our little shop, we knit these beautiful things called knitted knockers. They're triangular. They have a lovely bend to the front, and you can have them for free. We knit them for free, and you just slip them into your brassiere, walk around until you're comfortable in your house, and then off you go. Well, as I was talking a mile a minute and looking at things on the table and showing her all the different colors, darling pink, silken gray, baby blue, I noticed that she had gotten very serious and her eyes were water rimmed. And I placed my hand on her back and I said, "How long ago?" And she said, 14 years. She said, "It's why I always wear this sweater, because I feel like when I go out in public, everybody knows." And I said, "Well, we can fix this." I said, "We can fix it to a point." I said, "I'll let you have 2 pairs, pick 2 colors." Well, she picked darling pink and then a beautiful natural cream color. I said, "Well, all we have to do is get the right size." We have a beautiful little dresser. All the sizes are on it. And I reached forward to show her all the different sizes to pick from here. And I said, "So what size were you before the procedure?" And she said, "B." And I reached for the B drawer. And when I did, that gnarled hand came out and said, "Oh, honey, I think I'm going to go with C's." Once again, shocked and schooled by my elders. And in that moment, as that hand touched mine, I realized that we should, until the very last day, celebrate the fact that we all want to be beautiful. We all want to be whole. We all want to be loved and needed and desired.
Woo. Oh, so many great things in that story, Kim. Thank you so much. Knitted knockers, isn't that amazing? Although cutting toenails as a prerequisite to sex, I'm sorry, that's not for me. Quite disgusting. Thank you, Kim. Excellent, excellent. What a great way to start our show. Now, I'm going to hopefully, I don't know whether you saw at the very beginning, we had this fabulous edited video from my son, Tom Breeze. He's a wannabe video editor. He's absolutely brilliant. Needs a job. Anyone's got an editing job going down in LA. But he does all our artwork and he does all our video editing. So I'm just going to bring him up to say thank you very much. So Tom, come and say hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tom. Hopefully you're going to come up any moment and be with us. There you are. Hi. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Good, good. I'm fine. Thank you for all your lovely, lovely artwork. Regina and I really, really like it. And that bit at the beginning, we might even keep that forever. So thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I just want everyone to see the face behind all our lovely, beautiful artwork. Also, to go with all our questioning, have you got an answer to this, you probably don't, but what is your best or worst or most memorable birthday or anniversary?
I thought you said it was going to be a present.
Or a present. It could be a present. Yeah.
I was going to say, because I've got both. The worst possible present I could imagine as a child is socks, which is also now the best possible present these days.
Socks. And there's so many men like socks, it's ridiculous. As if you can't just pop off and buy them yourself.
Losing them, honestly. It's going down the side of the bed or something.
I know, socks just have a mind of their own, don't they?
I know. It was horrifying as a kid. Like, oh, wow, a whole package of socks. Now it's socks!
How we all change, eh? Thank you, Tom. Well, lovely to see you. Thank you for coming on. And we love all your artwork.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah, fun things to work on.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Now we've got our next freebie coming up, which is we got some lovely. I don't know whether you saw. Tom designed this excellent label. It's like a champagne label, but it's just all about 6 feet apart. It's fabulous. He did a really good job. So we've got 4 of these coasters, so it will grace any table for your lovely glass of wine or champers. So who is going to win that? Let me have a look. It is Valerie Young Baldwin. So I'll write you afterwards and we'll then get your address and I'll send them to you. So well done. Thanks very much. Now, next up is our next storyteller. It's Alton Takayama Chung. I hope I said that right. Probably didn't. And now Alton, before I go through his bio quickly, he has offered very generously. In fact, he was the one that set off this chain of competition between the tellers who could give us the best present. So love Alton. So Alton is going to give us a whole load. He's got 4 CDs and 4 DVDs. He's put them into sets. So we've got 2 sets of Alton's fabulous telling. And I'm going to pull out 2 names now. The first person is Carolyn Rose Stone. So Carolyn Rose Stone, you get 1 set. And the other set, I'm looking then, can't be looking, can I? Martha Falshaw. I'm terrible at names, so I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing everybody. So I will give those to Alton afterwards, and he will mail you your goodies. So thank you very much, Alton. We love you lots. Okay, so I'm sure you all know Alton, but Alton is a Japanese-Korean storyteller that I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know anybody who it was at the start of the pandemic, but he told this amazing, fun, I think it was a kid's story, and I thought, I've got to have him on our show. He's so brilliant. He tells story of Hawaii, Japanese-American experience in World War II, and he loves telling a ghost story, which I'm not over keen on because I'm a wimp. He's performed all over the world, at the Cayman Islands, Singapore, I mean, you name it, Vietnam, Thailand. He also was on our traditional folktale show in May of 2021. He told a lovely story then, so you can go back and watch that for free. How lucky are you? So that's on our website or on the YouTube channel. And you can find out all about him at altonchung.com. And the best thing about Alton is his very infectious laugh. So please welcome to our stage. Hopefully we'll make him laugh. It's Alton Chung. Hi, Alton. How are you? Oh, you're muted, Alton. That is the epitaph of the whole of the pandemic. You're on mute.
That's because I got muted by the host. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Oh, it's lovely, lovely. Now, you sent us a wonderful baby picture of you as a penguin.
Well, I was on my way here to Hawaii to take care of my dad, and then the request came in, we need a baby picture. And I said, well, you're a day too short. I mean, all that stuff is back in my house near Portland. Sorry, this is the best I can do.
See, such a great laugh. So, Alton, tell us, what is your most memorable birthday or anniversary or gift or worst, best, worst, whatever?
I think it has to be my birthday party my parents threw me when I was 7 years old. This was, the first big party for me that I'd ever had. I mean, they went all out. I mean, they invited my friends from school, and there were games and prizes and hot dogs and hamburgers, all kinds of food. Everyone else got presents. I was just kind of amazed. I didn't think my parents did this type of stuff. I mean, they certainly did it. You know, I couldn't remember them doing it for my brother, and I couldn't remember them ever doing it for me before. And it kind of really made me feel real special. That was kind of like a fond memory, a gold coin that I can hold on to and feel the weight of.
How lovely. I'm going to let you into a little secret that my worst present ever was from my ex-husband, and he gave me a snore pillow. A snore pillow. The most unromantic, horrible thing I've ever. And it was wrapped in tissue and books, and it was all lovely. I thought it was going to be underwear. Bloody snore pillow. Anyway. So
you put your head on it and it snores for you or something? Or?
Well, it's supposed to tilt your neck at an angle to stop you snoring so much.
Oh,
I don't think it worked. And I didn't use it. I just threw it away. Like, how dare you? How very dare you? It's a Christmas present. Jesus Christ.
Well, could have been socks.
I think socks would have been more preferable, let me tell you. So obviously his next husband, as you can imagine. Anyway, so my next question. Now, you're in Hawaii at the moment, aren't you? But you also split your time between there and Vancouver. And how does that work with your storytelling?
Well, I've learned to go and travel with all the gear I need to broadcast wherever I am. I mean, I carry my lights, my webcam, my microphone, and all my backdrops. And so wherever I happen to be, I need to be on. Okay, I've learned to be able to throw it up in about an hour and get everything hooked up and ready to go. All the ins and outs. I mean, all of us had learned how to go and convert whatever we do on stage to this little tiny box, and we tell stories with Tyrannosaurus Rex arms because we can't do this. So no, it's been a challenge, and and I also had to become very, very organized. I got really good at calculating, time zone shifts and things like that, But because we have to do this, we have to be very organized. And so that's kind of helped me a lot. So that by the time I have to do all this prep work ahead of time, so by the time we do a show, it's like, okay, I just have to go and tell a story. This is the easy part.
I know. Tell me about it. It's a nightmare, isn't it? Well, you always look amazing, and you always look like you're in exactly the same place. So everyone sit back. We're now going to have Alton tell... And the title of his story, which is going to be, it's called The Exploding Whale. I can't wait for this one. So welcome, Alton Chung.
Now, I've lived in the Pacific Northwest for many years, and one of the strangest true stories I've ever collected, I call The Case of the Exploding Whale. In November 1970, the Oregon coastal town of Florence had an enormous problem. A very large, very dead whale had washed up on the beach. Tossed around by the surf, this whale was leaving little bits of itself in the sand. Not good for tourism. Come to the Oregon coast for sun, sea, and surf and sand that oozes up between your toes and sticks. Ew. Bits of whale, much, much worse than tar balls on the beach. Now, at first, it was a curiosity for the local residents and beachcombers. But then, the beached behemoth began to smell. It soon became this gargantuan, stinking mess. Now, originally described as a Pacific gray whale, Dr. Bruce Mate, a leading authority on marine mammals, then a graduate student who was present at the time, confirmed that it was indeed a very large and a very dead and very stinky male sperm whale. Something was rotten in Florence. Now, the Oregon State Highway Division, now known as the Oregon Department of Transportation, or ODOT, was given the responsibility to remove the 45-foot, 8-ton dead whale from the beach. The responsibility for getting rid of the carcass was given to the Highway Division because, well, they were used to dealing with very large things. Dead whale, highways, yeah, it's about right. Actually, the Highway Division was given the responsibility of cleaning up the mess because it had jurisdiction over the Oregon beaches. See, by Oregon law, beaches are regarded as highways. Now, this notion goes way back to the time when there weren't very many roads along the coast and goods were transported up and down the beaches. Now, the highway people, decided to get rid of the whale just as they would any other big thing that got in the way of a highway construction job. They decided to blow it up. George Thornton, the highway engineer in charge of the project, actually did put a lot of thought into the matter. I mean, this poor guy. Thornton was then the assistant district engineer, and he got stuck with the whale cleanup task as the district engineer, a guy named Dale Allen, and his friends took off on a hunting trip when the issue of the dead whale surfaced. I mean, to be fair, Dale Allen and his friends had already planned the trip, but the dead whale made them pull up the hour of their departure. Now, to his credit, Thornton did due diligence. I mean, he phoned other highway divisions, the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Coast Guard, the health department, the police, pollution control authorities, ecologists, and demolition experts. Now, after consulting all of these professionals, his options boiled down to either burying it, throwing it away, or burning the carcass elsewhere. Now, burying works for smaller mammals like sea lions and smaller whales, but this carcass was so massive and so near the water that it would likely be uncovered by the waves of the next tide. Well, it couldn't be cut up and buried because, well, no one in their right mind wanted to go volunteer to cut this thing up. And towing it away was out of the question, as the whale was so ripe that it was literally falling apart. Burning the dead whale was not recommended. I mean, previous attempts to burn dead whales resulted in an overpowering stench to which residents sort of objected. So, dynamite it was. Now, the plan was to put the dynamite under the whale and blast it out to sea into little tiny pieces. Kaboom! And the hope was that the long dead whale would almost be disintegrated by the blast. And any little pieces left over would be taken care of by the fishes, crabs, seagulls, and other scavengers. No more whale, no more smell, massive buffet for the fishes, crabs, and voracious seagulls. I mean, this is exactly what they teach you in Whale Removal 101. WMD, Whale Moving Day, Thursday, December 12th, 1970, was one of those picture-perfect Oregon fall days. I mean, sunshine, cool fall bite in the air, and calm winds. People snuck away from work, even as far away as Eugene, about an hour and a half away, to watch the whale demolition derby. I mean, then 23, reporter Paul Lindman from KATU, Portland, Oregon, and a cameraman were on hand to witness this historic event. When first told to go to the coast, Lindman told his news director, "Look, I'm one of your star reporters. I'm not going to the coast to cover a dead whale." "But Paul, they're using dynamite." "I'm on my way." About 75 bystanders, most of them residents who had first found the whale to be a curiosity before they tired of its smell, were moved back about a quarter mile away. I mean, the sand dunes were covered with spectators and newscasters. Right? The highway division, the people, they dug this hole under the whale and placed 20 50-pound cases of dynamite under the whale. Half a ton dynamite, 8-ton whale. Sounds about right. The dynamite was buried on the landward side of the mammal. The notion was to blow the whale out to sea. Well, they would have to wait around. Then all they had to do was wait around a few days for the fishes, the crabs, and the voracious seagulls to do their thing. And then the highway folks would just come in and pick up and cleaned and picked over big bones. Well, the highway worker, 3 dunes away, he raised this little red flag above his head. It was very quiet, a quarter mile away from this humongous corpse. Even hundreds of the voracious whale-eating seagulls who had been squawking all day in anticipation of their ginormous smorgasbord were very quiet. I imagine that all the fishes, the crabs, and the voracious whale-eating seagulls were all saying their version of grace. Bloop, 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 bloop. Mine, 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 mine. In my mind, I can see the man with the pennant. He's got an eye patch, and he's got a hook for a hand, and he drops the pennant and draws his cutlass and points to the whale and shouts, "I've asked ye, mateys, there she blows." Now the explosion looked like any other explosion you see on any action show. Spectacular V-shaped explosion turning into a broad fan with tremendous amounts of material flying skyward. And as the ejector fills the sky, it seems to hang there in the air. The space directly above the whale, where the whale had been, it became a deep scarlet, sort of like a airburst of fire retardant or tomato juice. An instant 100-foot column of sand and whale shooting up into the sky. Yeah, I mean, ooh. Only it was going straight up and not out to sea. Oopsie. I mean, the colossal boom rolled over the crowd a second or two after the demolition. And soon there were hundreds of little splatting sounds of things hitting the ground. It began followed by one, then two, then a lot of these little hollow thuds. It began to rain bits of rotting whale. It too soon turned into a red blizzard of rancid whale flakes. On video, you can see the whale carcass disappear in this huge blast of smoke and flame. Then you hear the happy spectators start shouting, "Yay!" and "Wee!" One mother tells her child she can take his hands off of his ears. And then you hear a new sound, sort of like splitch. And then this splattering sound of as rancid whale chunks pelt the ground can be heard. A woman calmly observes, "Oh, here comes a piece of ew." And then something smears the camera lens. I mean, the stench was incredible. Imagine that your friends have duct taped you to the seat in the back of a cargo van. They have taped your eyes open so that you can see what's happening and see it coming. And then they've put tape on your mouth so you have to breathe through your nose. Several things should be going through your mind at this time. One, why do you have such friends? And two, perhaps you should consider getting some new ones. But I digress. It's a hot day, and your friends have filled the back of the van with soiled football uniforms and filthy socks from last night's games. The dirty clothes have just enough time to ferment in the locker room overnight. Your eyes begin to water, and through that haze, you see your friends pick up a large cardboard box, shake it vigorously, then toss it into the van with you, slam the door shut, and then peer in with glee through the windows. Within 30 seconds, an irate beaver claws its way out through the side of the box and turns to confront you and the fermenting socks. He's joined by half a dozen extremely perturbed and bruised skunks. The beaver sniffs and tries to hold its nose, and it fails, and it falls on its side, quivering. The skunks sniff, and then they all glare at you as if you've just insulted their mother. And as one, they all turn and give you a salute. Multiply that stench by 10. And that is the impact of an air blast of putrefied whale. The stench was staggering and stayed in the nostrils for days. I mean, there's nothing that can compare to the aroma of decomposing and partially cooked whale guts, blood, and blubber sprayed all over you. No matter what people were wearing at the time, it was now red and greasy. Hairs, hands, faces, all covered with pureed whale goo. And people fled in terror to escape the blubbery rain of gunk and gristle. Chunks of rancid whale meat and blubber shrapnel rained down amongst the fleeing witnesses. They almost made it to the parking lot when, from just a few yards ahead of them, there came the sound of a small explosion. As the rain of deceased whale bits slackened, people moved up to investigate the source of the strange detonation. It was a nearly new Oldsmobile Regal. "My insurance company is never going to believe this," said Walter Umenhofer of Springfield, Oregon, as he surveyed the crushed remains of his car, a 6-inch thick, 3-foot by 5-foot piece of foul-smelling rancid whale had moments before soared a quarter-mile through the air, arcing gracefully over the crowd of spectators, only to land on the left rear corner of the car's roof, flattening it, blowing out the windows, and filling the parking lot with shards of broken glass. This car now kind of looked like a convertible with a supersized rotting whale air freshener. As darkness fell, the highway crew were on the beach burying the late and blasted whale's remains, including huge chunks of the carcass that they really never left the site. There were no signs of the fishes, crabs, or voracious whale-eating seagulls. Dave Barry wrote about this amazing episode in Oregon history in his 1990 column entitled "The Far Side Comes to Life in Oregon." It hit the internet in 1994. Walter Umenhofer, whose car had been totaled by the wayward chunk of flying blubber, filed a claim with his insurance company and got a check for the full value of his car. He had purchased it from Dunham Olds Cadillac in Eugene, whose slogan at this time was, "You get a whale of a deal." And he did. As a result of this incident, it is now the policy of the state of Oregon to bury carcasses that can't easily be removed. In April 2020, during the pandemic, Doncaster, a town in northern England, used the rancid whale blubber hurling incident in Oregon as a lesson to its residents about dealing with coronavirus. Quote, "Sometimes it's better just to sit at home and do nothing than to go outside and do something ridiculous." Unquote. Not taking the advice of the town of Florence, in June 2020, went outside and christened their latest city park the Exploding Whale Memorial Park. About 6 months after the Exploding Whale episode, George Thurton was promoted to district engineer and moved to Medford, Oregon. He retired from ODOT in 1985 and doesn't like to talk about the exploding whale incident anymore. He feels that the whole thing has been blown way out of proportion.
Oh, Alton, that was amazing. Now, I've heard of raining cats and dogs, but not raining rancid whale. That's disgusting. And your descriptions were so vivid, I could almost smell it myself and feel it. Disgusting. Hilarious. Hilarious what people do. I think this sounds like a good idea at the time. Thank you, Alton. That was a fabulous story. Wonderful. So I want to say hello to some of our YouTubers who are watching from YouTube. There's Jane Dorfman and Lynn Gruber and Janice Kelly. And something Liz said, on our 50th anniversary, their daughter was getting married, so they had to put off their 50th celebration until the next year. So taken over by their daughter. Wow, honestly, could they not have arranged a wedding for another time? Okay, we're going to give away some freebies. We're going to have, I think, a free backstage pass now, someone to a show of your choosing. So let me go and have a look and go into the hat and see what I can pull out. Who we're going to pull out? Jodie Fitterer. You are going to get a free backstage pass of your choosing. So that's you. And then we've also got, let me have a look. We've also got made specially for you some little key rings. So they've got 6 feet apart on one side. They've got our lovely anniversary champagne label on the other. So I'm going to pick out a label for one of those. Oh, I know she wants one. Jessica Robinson, aka Florence Nightingale, of course. So at all times she can be reminded of 6 feet apart. How fabulous! Couldn't happen to a lovelier person. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay. So we've got another storyteller who's coming up next. Unfortunately, she, a bit like our co-producer, also had COVID. She's recovering now, but the 9 o'clock, because she's on the East Coast, was a bit too late for her. So she made me get up really early in the morning, dress myself absolutely perfectly, to have her come on, and we recorded her story. So in a minute, she'll come on and tell that. And that, of course, is the fabulous Donna Washington. She actually told us such a scary story on our Friday Fright Night in 2020 that the spirits came down and froze her mid-tale on the screen. So that was quite good. So if you want to go and see that story, you can go and see that again, free on our website or YouTube channel. Now, Donna's told stories since she was 6 years old, and all of them are fabulous. I've been telling for years and years and years. She should look an awful lot older than she does. It's sickening. Her stories are either poignant and funny fables. She does racy personal stories, just spine-tingling tales like she told on our story. She works in schools. She headlines at festivals. She does workshops all over the world. Excuse me. At least she did work out all of them in the before times. And now she's keeping well away from those pesky kids who gave her COVID recently. She's also a cat lover, so that's always really good in my book. You can always get brownie points for that. Find out more about her on dlwstoryteller.com. So please sit back and welcome to our stage, Donna Washington. Welcome, Donna. Hi, lovely to see you.
Thank you, Claire. It's good to be here.
Now, you're actually not at home at the moment, are you?
No, I'm
Tell
not.
us where you are.
I am in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
And what are you doing there?
Telling stories to wee little children.
Oh, and haven't we little children got you into a lot of trouble?
Yes. About a little under a month ago, I was in upstate New York, and I was in the classroom and I picked up COVID.
No.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
Well, a little breathless, a little coffee, and a little sleepy. But I'm no longer contagious, so.
Well, that's good. That's good. And then perhaps not going to be doing quite so much close contact with the kids now.
Yeah, there's a couple places I contacted. I was like, I won't be in the classroom. We can all go to the multi-purpose room, but I'm not getting any close to children.
Yeah, they are little germ fests, aren't they?
You never know where their hands have been.
No, absolutely. So I was going to ask you about your most memorable birthday or anniversary, but that's not to give the game away. That's going to be a little bit what your story's about. So instead of that, apart from the awful getting of the COVID, this pandemic, what's been the silver lining for you professionally or personally, or what have you enjoyed about it?
I think the silver lining for me has definitely been a founding assist with Sheila Arnold.
Oh, of course.
That has been. What Assist has done is create all this accessibility. There are people who are finding storytelling that didn't know they wanted it. And it's linked up all these great mentorships and partnerships all over the world. And it really feels like a place, if you need some help or you just need some community, you can come and hang out. And definitely, that's the best thing that's come out of the pandemic for me.
Yeah, and for lots and lots of us too. Thank you very much, Donna and Sheila. We'll put the link in the chat. I think most people know it, but ASSIST is ASST, and tell us what that stands for.
Artists Standing Strong Together.
And they pronounce it ASSIST. So we'll put that link, but you can find it on Facebook, and they've got a website, and they do so many shows and help so many people. We thank you. We thank you. The pandemic's been lovely in some ways. I would never have met you, Donna, if I hadn't been for the pandemic. So in some ways, there's been lots and lots of positive that have come out of it. Okay, so right, I'm very excited about your story. So let's sit back, everybody. Donna, get ready, and we're going to listen to your story. So welcome, Donna, to our stage.
Now, the David and I have been together for over 30 years. And when we had our first date on January 3rd, we were about 20 minutes into the date, and I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. Now, of course, I didn't know him, though. Of course, you know, you're having a date with someone. And so over the course of that next year, we really got to know each other. And he is a really particular person. And one of the things I learned about him over the first year was that A, he doesn't like to be wrong. Well, nobody likes to be wrong, but he really, really does not like to be wrong. And he likes to be in control of things. And the joke I have is I also like to be in control of things. So when control freaks marry, they have to figure out who's going to control what, or they will kill each other. And over the course of that year, we had moments that were just very funny and very silly. For instance, we were driving at one point and the Ballroom Blitz song came on the radio. And David said, that's in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I was like, it is not. And I knew it wasn't because I didn't see the Rocky Horror Picture Show until I graduated from university. So I had seen it recently in the last couple of years. And I think the Broadway show had just come out. So I had the album. I knew it wasn't in there. I said to him, it's not in there. Yes, it is. He was determined it was. And he said, I will bet you it's in there. And I said, well, we betting. He said, if it's in there, you balance the checkbook for an entire month. I said, no problem, because I knew it wasn't in there. If it's not in there, you make me a 4-course meal. He says, no problem. So we get home, he checks, it's not in there. He has to make me a 4-course meal. And his mother didn't do anything the afternoon he was making it because he kept calling her every 5 minutes to ask her questions. One of which was, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to put the meat and the flour in a paper bag and I don't have a paper bag. What do I do? His mother said, just put it in a bowl. He said, isn't that cheating? I mean, it was that kind of thing. So we have these various events that we got through over the course of the year. Now, I tell you all this because 4 months into our first year, in April, is David's birthday. And I wanted to surprise him. Now, I had a little diner's card that I'd been using for a number of years. So I had some points built up. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have him have like a fabulous surprise weekend? We'll do some really cool things, some things we don't normally do. It'll be fun. And I told his parents I was going to do this. And they were so excited because they also have a diner's card and they had way more points than I did. So they transferred points to me and I put together a surprise weekend. And then I told him, I said, David, we're going to have a surprise weekend for your birthday. So don't book anything with anyone else. You're mine from Friday evening until Sunday afternoon. And he says, what are we doing? I said, it's a surprise. Are we doing this? Are we? And then it occurred to me, he really needs to know. Like, he's not okay that there's a surprise coming. And so I learned something about him. Not a fan of surprises. But I was determined that it was going to be a surprise. So he's just not good at, he doesn't like not knowing things. So he's now poking. He's asking questions. He's trying to work it out. What are we going to be doing? And so finally, about a week before we're supposed to start this thing, he says, just so you know, I get seasick. So should I bring Dramamine? And I thought, okay, I got to give him something or he's going to lose his mind. So I said, Dramamine might be a good idea. He went, I knew it. We're going on the Spirit of Chicago, which is this big cruise boat that cruises up and down Lake Michigan. I knew it. I told everyone we were going to do this. And so I was like, okay, fine, you got me. So he was happy because this thing was coming and he didn't have to deal with a surprise. So Friday night shows up. He's coming up the steps. He's opening the Dramamine. And I say to him, you're not going to need that. He said, what? Because we didn't go on a boat. The first thing we did was we went to an opera cafe in Chicago. Now, I love opera. And the way these opera cafes work, I don't know if you've ever been in one, all of the wait staff are opera singers. And we were in Chicago at the time. So there's all these universities around. There's all these opera singers and musicians of all different kinds. And so they would hire them. And over the course of the evening, while you're having your dinner, every now and again, the lights would dim and two of them would come up and sing a duet, or you'd have an aria, or the entire waitstaff would just stop what they were doing and you'd have a chorus of some gorgeous opera. And that's when I found out he's not a fan of opera. But he could appreciate the beauty of the music, but he's not a big fan. So dinner's over, and I have booked us into this there's a big band thing, and we go and there's a live big band playing, and everyone's dancing. And Dave is not a big fan of dancing, but he danced. He did. We had a good time, and then I actually had booked the suite in this hotel, which was gorgeous. And the next day, since we were downtown Chicago, we went to Navy Pier and we walked around and we did a little shopping. And Dave is not a fan of shopping. I was like, well, we're downtown. Is there anything particular that you would like to do down here? I don't know. We went to a museum because we both love museums. And then we went back into Evanston, which is right outside of Chicago. It's where we both lived. And we went into Evanston and we had dinner or lunch at a place called Trips, which is a gorgeous Italian restaurant. He had a wonderful time. He really loved it. And then afterwards, we went and hung around in Evanston. Then we went to the Orrington Hotel. And the Orrington Hotel is this really shishi upscale, like gorgeous hotel from the 20s. It's been revamped, but back in the 80s when we were there, it was just this beautiful hotel, and we had dinner in the hotel, and of course there's frescoes on the ceiling. It's just gorgeous. And we spent the night in the hotel. And then in the morning, Sunday morning, he was free to go and hang out with his friends or whatever he wanted to do. So I thought it'd been a really successful. I planned it out. We had a great time, even though there were some things I learned that he wasn't a big fan of. And he says to me on Sunday evening, I told everyone we were going to be on the Spirit of Chicago. I said, I know. He said, so that's what I'm going to tell him that we did. I said, what? He said, yeah. I told everyone that we were on a boat, so that's what I'm going to tell him that we did. I said, but boat. And he said, I'm just going to tell everyone that we did. I said, but why would you do that? Because I told them that's what we were going to do. So I told them that's what we did. But we didn't go on a boat. He goes, yeah, we did. We did not. Yeah, we did. And then he started telling me the story of us going on a boat. And I said, we did not get on the Spirit of Chicago. He said, we did. I said, we did not. And he said, not only am I going to tell everybody this, but for the rest of our lives, I'm going to tell everybody that we got on a boat and went on the Spirit of Chicago. And I'm going to do it so long that you're going to forget we didn't do it. I was like, there is no way in the world that I'm going to forget that we went to an opera cafe and we did a lot of stuff. It was really nice. He said, yeah, but I'm going to tell everyone we were on a boat. So he goes back to work and tells everyone that we were on a cruise on the boat. And so when I talked to them later, like, yeah, so how did that Spirit of Chicago thing went? We didn't go on a boat. We did all this other stuff. And people are like, are you sure? Because Dave said you went on a boat. And apparently there's a story. It just got longer and longer about what we were doing on this boat. Apparently I got drunk and made a pass at the captain. And as time went on, we eventually got married. And anytime this story would come up, like, what's like something that you did for him that was pretty neat when you first started dating. And I would start telling the story about taking him to these hotels and whatever. And he would say, that's not what happened. And he would tell the story of us being on a boat. Now, he has done this for 30 years. And I always assume that people know that we really did go to the opera cafe and do all these other things. And that it's silly. Of course, we didn't get on this boat. So recently, my children are now 23 and 25, something like that. And we recently had a family game night, and we had some friends over. We love board games. We had some friends over. And at some point, somehow or other, the birthday thing comes up. And the kids go, oh, check this out. And so then I tell the story of what we did. Opera Cafe, I don't know, the whole thing. And David says, I don't know why you keep insisting that we did all of them. We didn't do that. We were on the boat. And then this whole story about the Spirit of Chicago and getting on and the Dramamine and him still getting kind of nauseous and then me drinking too much champagne. I hit on the captain and we were dancing kind of nutty. And then at the end of the evening, I was kind of embarrassed because I was a little drunk. So I told him that I was just going to tell people we didn't go on the boat and that we went and did all these things, even though we did go on the boat. And my daughter and my son say, we have no idea which one of them to believe. They said, it is not unreasonable that my mother actually put together this long extended weekend. It's not unreasonable that she would have done that. But it's also not unreasonable that they got on a boat and that she had a little too much drink and things got out of control. And it's also not unreasonable that one of them would have bet the other, that they could get everyone to believe the other story. So we have no idea which one of these is true. And so each of them has just decided to come down on one side or the other. My daughter's like, I think dad probably is telling the truth. And my son's like, I think it's probably mom. So I will continue to tell the story because I know what happened. Even though when I told him I was going to tell the story, he announced, are you going to tell him the truth about the boat? I said, I will mention the boat, but I'm not telling that whole story. I don't know it because I didn't live through it. But ultimately, I think that David got what he wanted, which is, I have never and will never again plan a surprise weekend. Because clearly, that man does not like surprises.
Woo! So good. Oh, that's lovely. I love that story. The fact that it's become such folklore now that nobody actually knows who's telling the truth. Poor Donna. It's so funny. Okay, before we bring on our last, but so definitely not least, storyteller, we'll have a couple more things. We'll have I think we'll give away a free YouTube ticket again. So let's see who we're going to have. Who's going to have, and it's a show of your choosing. We've got some lovely shows coming up. And that is going to be, let's have a look. I'm going to, Linda Yamoto. So Linda is going to get a free YouTube show from us. Lovely. And then we're going to also, I'm going to give away another one of these lovely key rings because I know that Jessica is going to really treasure hers. So that is going to be, who's that going to be? That is going to be Kate Farrell. Lovely Kate Farrell. She's in our audience. So Kate, you'll get one of those as well. And lovely to be treasured. And obviously it's going to be worth a lot of money one day. So lovely. So let's get on to our final storyteller. Now, when he found out that about Alton Chung was my favorite storyteller because he has all these lovely freebies, he was not to be outdone. So he's given us 10 CDs. I love that. So sorry, Alton, you only gave us 8. We've got 10. And we'll split them into 2. So let's find out who those 2 are going to be. So the first one, Lisa Hellman. I'll send that to you. You've got one set of 5 CDs. And who's the next one? It is Liz Gruber, who's in our YouTube tonight. I know she's made a couple of us. So you 2 have got Andy's lovely CDs. So that's fabulous. So lovely. Thank you, Andy. So obviously the hilarious and very wacky Andy Offut Irwin is our next storyteller. Now I do love Andy. He's got like a very adaptable and versatile mouth, I should say, because he makes all sorts of different and weird and silly noises from his characters. He does lots of strange accents. He does sound effects, and he's a world-class whistler. And I really do mean he's a world-class whistler. Now, I'm particularly in awe of this last skill because I can't actually whistle at all. So I think Andy should give whistling lessons rather than storytelling lessons, because that's what I want, whistling lessons.
That takes a lot of pressure off.
Now, his stories can make me laugh anyway, till your belly hurts, till you cry, sometimes both at the same time. So it's no surprise that actually he began his career with an improvisational comedy troupe at Walt Disney World. And now he's really more like a one-man band, comedy and story festival, all rolled into one. He was on our on his hilarious show called Family Fiction. He and Paul Strickland took over our show, basically, and did the most amazing songs and stories, absolutely brilliant. Again, free on our website. And he did a brilliant song at the end. Really funny, special guests, even including Bill Lepp. So go and watch that if you haven't seen it already. So let's bring to our virtual stage now, Andy Offord-Irwin. Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm groovy, Claire. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so lovely having you here. Now, you're standing outside in the back, aren't you? And it's raining on you, isn't that right?
Yeah, it is. I found out that my tin roof rusted. It's leaking on me, so I had to move because but my computer's not getting wet. But my pants. If I were driving, and well, it's a long story. But I can't outgross Alton, but it looks like I've wet myself. Because I was right where I was getting dripped.
Well, thank God we just got you from the top up, eh?
Yeah, really.
Now, you couldn't give us a baby picture either, could you? What was the reason?
I don't have any baby pictures. I don't. I was the last of three, and they were out of film.
Oh, no baby pictures for Andy.
There are none.
Oh, now, have you got a memorable birthday or anniversary or strange gift or something?
When I was 9. My mom's brother was a dentist, and he was one of the very first dentists ever in history. And he really used a belt-driven. I think he was a dentist since 1934, and he had a belt-driven drill, and everything was glass and what's the word I'm looking for? Ceramic. And I had to go to the dentist on my birthday because he had an opening, and it was, I had to sneak in, and I just, it was miserable. I was 9, and that was awful. And I had a steady diet at that time in my life of Alpha-Bits and Captain Crunch. So yeah, yeah. But it didn't go, like a drill's supposed to go, but this one.
What a horrible thing to do to a 9-year-old on their birthday.
I know, man.
That's not nice.
Nobody took it.
I was going to say what's 2 of your worst birthday gifts, but that's probably one of them. So have you got like a really good birthday gift?
I do. The next year, when I turned, the year before, I turned 8. And my birthday is December the 14th. So it's, my mom was always really, really good about, and she made me go to the dentist. I mean, it was like, she couldn't help it. I mean, he made her do it, but she always made my birthday not a Christmas thing. And that year I had a Batman cake. I remember it was like Batman and Robin on the cake. And this is right after I had written the lyrics to the TV show Batman. And because I'm the youngest person to ever write the lyrics to a TV show. And it was Batman, 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 Batman. And the hard part was the da 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 da. But that's not what I came here to tell you. And then I got Green Ghost, the game Green Ghost, which glowed in the dark, and we all played Green Ghost, and that was great. It was beautiful. I had a simple childhood.
Oh, very lovely. I remember a present that I can still remember to this day that my dad bought me, and it was a pen, and at one end was like it was like see-through with liquid in it, and it had a Batman car, and it would go down, and then when you tipped it up, it would go the other way. Loved that pen. Can still remember it now. I must have been about 4.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Batman. You see, does it for all of us. And well done, you writing that very complicated theme tune.
Yes,
Okay, so thank you, Andy. sit back, stand back, get yourself ready. We're all going to listen to Andy's story now, Mr. Dewey's Train.
Well, oh wait, I'm yellow. Now I'm here. Okay, I'm sorry. It was yellow in front of me, and I couldn't see anything because it's like this bright yellow light. But it's gone now. My Aunt Marguerite, in case you don't know, most of you do, is 85 years old, and she's a practicing physician. And on this particular day, it was wintertime, she had gone down to the woods across from her house, right past the creek, and had gone on a kindling hike. Hike, in this case, is a highfalutin word. But when we were little, she would say, "Oh, look, my bucket, my wood bucket's empty, my kindling's empty. Let's go on a kindling hike." And we'd go, "Yay!" She always made it fun. We'd run down the hill. It was only an acre, but we would pick up pieces of, dried sticks, like so many Easter eggs. That was a kindling hike. But this particular time, she was by herself on a kindling hike, and she heard, she was bending down and grunting on purpose. She was going, and when you're 85 years old and you bend down and grunt, you pick up 20, 30 pieces of sticks. That's real exercise. And the reason she grunted, in her mind, she was, "I'm getting my grunts out so I won't grunt later. If I grunt now, I won't grunt later. I'm working out. That's what I'm doing." And she was noticing the breath from her, audible exhale. And then she heard in the distance, bah, bah. And she knew that was Mr. Dewey's train. She loves Mr. Dewey's train. She's heard this thing all her life. And it's the Great Newtonsboro Railroad. The great, in this case, is a highfalutin word. The Great Newtonsboro Railroad it's only 8 cars, and it goes between Newtonsboro and Pickettsville and comes back. And it's being pulled by a 1949 General Electric GMT ED7 train. And she knows it's Mr. Dewey, and he's crossing Conyers Street. It's about a quarter mile from her house. Bam, bam. And that's the kind of, he always did 2 blasts when he crossed the road. The train's going really slow. I mean, it was a 15-mile one way, 15-mile back, 30 miles round trip. It took a whole day. And if Mr. Dewey, if he saw a kid do the cord pull, he would always do shave and a haircut. Bam, 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 bam. And she loved that sound of Mr. Dewey and his train. Now, I said it was freight. That's a highfalutin word. There wasn't a lot on it, but there was a flatbed car, and sometimes there was a tractor. Sometimes there was an old truck. And it was mostly grain, hay, seed, feed, that sort of thing, back and forth, back and forth. Now, Mr. Dewey's last name was Death. Mr. Dewey, his family probably got that name in the Middle Ages when there were morality plays, and different family groups had to play different characters in the morality play. And some people were Death, and that's who Mr. Dewey's family was. But they had the good taste in the cemetery on their plot not to have the big stone with their family name on it. It just would not do to be rolling through the cemetery on the way to a funeral and seeing a great big stone that says Death. Mr. Dewey would love to blow at those kids because he loved children. In fact, Mr. Dewey and Miss Alma, his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Death, as it were, did not have children of their own, but on Halloween, they were ghosts at the American Legion Hall. And these were not lame sheet-wearing ghosts. They were hospitable ghosts. What they had done is, this one particular year, they got Bentley. Bentley was Mr. Dewey's protege. He was a young man learning to be an engineer, and he helped Mr. Dewey. Bentley helped Mr. Dewey take Miss Alma's grandmother's old pump organ to the American Legion Hall. They took 2 wingback chairs, 2 marble top tables, some fireplace tools, and some old burnt logs. And they kept those in the closet where all the tables and the chairs, folding chairs, are kept. And what they would do is, Mr. Dewey had his grandfather's old Victorian kind of suit with a high stiff collar, and he grew his handlebar mustache just for Halloween, the same way that some, real bearded Santas dedicate their faces to being real bearded Santas year round. For her part, Miss Alma practiced, she rode a bicycle, so her legs would be strong enough to power the old leaky organ when kids came over. And they went to Mr. Callahan's 10-cent store, and there was that hair whitener, that sort of cheap costume hair whitener. They would spray it all over themselves. They sort of were whited out in a way. And they had 2 oil lamps on either table, and they would make the wicks too high so it would make smoke, and it would be this poisonous haze. And then kids were brought in like 6 at a time, and Miss Alma would be playing on that organ, pumping like there's no tomorrow, playing "Let Me Call You Sweetheart." And the kids would come in, and she'd stop playing, stop pedaling, and then she would turn and say, "Children," and she would rise. "Father, children." And Mr. Dewey had his back to the children in the wingback chair, poking at the cold, burnt logs. He would put the poker in the hod, and he would rise and turn. "Children, mother, pie for the children." "Yes, children, pie." And Miss Alma would pick up a tray of mincemeat pie. "Mincemeat pie." "Yes, mother, mincemeat pie for the children, and milk." And Miss Alma would say, "Eat of the pie, children." And Mr. Dewey would say, "Drink of the milk." "Eat of the pie, drink of the milk." And then together they would say, "Join us, children, join us." And the kids would scream and run out. Except those 12-year-old kids that are a little too old to go trick-or-treating. They'd been going in and out of this place for a few years now. And they would sometimes go and taste of the pie and drink of the milk. And they were never the same. That particular day when my Aunt Marguerite heard the train, she was thinking about Miss Alma. She'd probably been dead 5 or 6 years. As soon as Miss Alma died, Mr. Dewey, after the Saturday funeral, went right back to work. He stopped being a ghost. He was never a ghost again, but he was always, every day of his life, he was an engineer. Now, there was old Mr. Ginn. Old Mr. Ginn owned the railroad, and he knew that he would never find an engineer as fine as Mr. Dewey. Mr. Dewey did not run the railroad on holidays recognized by the movie Holiday Inn. He didn't run the railroad on New Year's Day, Valentine's Day, President's Day, because, Lincoln and Washington Day, Easter, Independence Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. He added Martin Luther King's birthday, and then, of course, Halloween. Mr. Dewey was fond of telling people that Halloween and the day after should be legal holidays, and he was right. He told old Mr. Ginn there was this trestle that went over dried Indian Creek, and he said to Mr. Ginn that trestle was no good. It really needed work, and Mr. Ginn said, "Oh, that trestle's been there 130 years. It's not going anywhere." Mr. Ginn thought of that trestle the way some people think of old trees. They think they'll just always be there. After Miss Alma died, Mr. Dewey always took his afternoon dinner, which you would call lunch, but in the honor of Catherine Tucker Wyndham, we always say dinner, his afternoon dinner at the little diner in our town called the Townhouse Cafe, which is where Marguerite has her Saturday dinner. Every year, she sees every Saturday, she sees Mr. Dewey and they greet each other. And sometimes kids will come in and they'll see Mr. Dewey and they recognize him. He's got the handlebar mustache. He's the engineer that they see all the time going right through town at very, very slow speeds. And they would go, they would do the cord pull and he would go, bam, 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 bam. They love Mr. Dewey. And this one particular time, Marguerite was there and she'd heard this a couple of times. One of the dads of those kids who remembers when Mr. Dewey was a ghost would say, "You sure were a great ghost." And when anybody ever said that, Mr. Dewey would slowly put down his fork and turn in his chair and look up, make sure his mustache was where it should be, and say, "That was only practice. You just wait." Well, Mr. Dewey took care of that train. Mr. Ginn would never find anybody as steadfast as Mr. Dewey, would never find anybody who cared as much about bringing that thing in on budget. Mr. Dewey knew every hill and little rise of that railroad the way a cyclist knows a regular route. it barely broke even. But for Mr. Ginn, that railroad was a 1-to-1 scale model railroad. And then, not long after Marguerite heard Mr. Dewey's train when she was on her kindling hike, she found out that Mr. Dewey had died. He was found on the train. Actually, his foot was on the top of the ladder up to the cab. It was about 30 feet past Dried Indian Creek. Well, since it was a legal piece of transportation, there had to be a real doctor, not just the regular coroner, because the coroner was just, the coroner was just funeral director. So he called in my Aunt Marguerite, who's a doctor, and she knew that Mr. Dewey was really, really old. They're about the same age. And the coroner said, "What do you think happened?" She said, "Well, he was really old. I don't know why the train was stopped 30 feet past the trestle. But since he was on the train right there, I would say he pulled himself an Irene Ryan." Now, if you don't know who Irene Ryan is, she played Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies. But her last gig was in Bob Fosse's Pippin. Bob Fosse and the gang wrote her a piece, and she was on stage about 15 minutes. And she would sing, "Oh, it's time to start living, time to take a little from this world we're given, time to take time, 'cause spring will turn to fall in just no time at all." And on her last performance, she went off stage, and the show wasn't over, and she had a stroke from which she never recovered. So that's what Marguerite said. Mr. Dewey pulled an Irene Ryan. Well, the coroner, Mr. Swamp, he didn't want to be embarrassed by not knowing what she was saying. She figured she was, naming the malady that took him out. A malady is named after a doctor that discovered it. So he typed up the death certificate and mailed it to her for her to sign. And there it is, cause of death, Irene Ryan. She shrugged and she signed it and sent it back. Now, Mr. Dewey's funeral was a funeral train. Bentley, who really wasn't licensed to drive a train yet, he only took it 2 places. They picked up Mr. Dewey from the funeral home, and the train went a quarter mile. The pallbearers were all these kids that had pulled the cord. They just kind of put out a call for them, and a bunch of people showed up, about 20 young folks. And they lifted his coffin up on the flatbed car, and they went the quarter mile to the Methodist church, and they had the funeral. And then they went another quarter mile to the cemetery, and they all carried him, no rolling, all the way to the grave. And then Bentley took that train and he parked it behind the old warehouse, that 1949 GMT EP7. I'm saying those numbers wrong. I have to look it up. This is a news story. Mr. Ginn couldn't sell that locomotive. Bentley went on to school, and the railroad was closed. The train was left behind the shed. Marguerite was invited to join the Rails to Trails committee. They needed somebody with old gravitas, an old citizen, because some people were against it. Old Mr. Ewing, he said, "I don't want a train going through my pasture." "Why don't you want a train? You used to have, why don't you want a trail? Little children and people walking. You used to have industrial transportation going through your pasture." "Yeah, but I didn't have to speak to the train." And then the trestle. It took $1 million to repair the trestle before the state would approve it. And Marguerite went to the dedication of the trestle. Of course, it was called the Mr. Dewey and Miss Alma Memorial Trestle. And she saw Bentley, and Bentley was there. She was so happy to see Bentley, and Bentley was now a real engineer. And she said, "Bentley, it's so good to see you." He said, "Yeah, they finally fixed this trestle. Mr. Dewey never was on the train when it went over the trestle." "What?" "Oh, yeah, it had this sort of cruise control, a clockwork cruise control. The engineer could set it for whatever distance he wanted. He'd set it for 60 feet. It'd go across the trestle, and then it would stop, and he would walk across." "You mean he was not on the train when he crossed that trestle?" "Oh, no, the train went by itself." "Oh, that's amazing." Well, my Aunt Marguerite drives a 1968 Plymouth Fury. It's the last car my Uncle Charles gave her before he died, because he hasn't given her any cars since. And she gives it over to my son and me to tune it up and to take care of it. And I won't tell you how it came to pass that 2 horns from that engine disappeared from that engine. But those old cars have really, really, really big hoods. And even though it's a V8, there's lots of room on either side of the engine to accommodate 2 train horns. And when we took the car back, Marguerite saw that button next to the AM radio because there was no FM. She goes, "What is that?" I said, "Push that button, find out." And Liam and I held our ears and in her ears rang all day. So now on those Holiday Inn days at midnight before that actual holiday begins, Marguerite gets in her 1968 Plymouth Fury 2 and she rides along the roads to where the railroad used to cross, and she blasts the horn twice in the middle of the night. And when she comes back to Conyers Street, a quarter mile from her house, right close to downtown Newtonsboro, and everybody knows Mr. Dewey was telling the truth. It's a 1949 EMD GP7. That's what it is. And I'll get that right next time, I tell you.
Because, of course, we can all tell what the difference is.
Yeah, really. Well, EMD means electric motor diesel, and GP7 means it has 7 axles. Ha! Take that.
Well, there we go. Learn something new every day. Although, can I ever believe anything that comes out of your mouth, Andy? I think not.
No.
The funniest thing for me was when I've watched it, sorry you can't see this on YouTube, was to see Alton Chung laughing without any sound at all Andy's story. It was the best thing ever.
Thank you, Alton.
Oh, well, that was fabulous. What a lovely show. Now, don't go because we have got Corey's song, which honestly, it's genius. But just before we have that song, I just want to bring our 3 storytellers, because unfortunately Donna's not here, back on, just quickly say thank you to them and to see what they've got coming up. So let's bring Kim Whitecam back. Hi, Kim. Thank you. Thank you for your lovely story. And what have you got coming up? Oh, Kim, you're on mute, obviously.
I think next week I'm at Flatwater Tales in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Yes.
And then I have at Mohican Castle, I have a nice show with a whole lot of Canadians. I love Canadians. And I'm doing a show online. You'll have to go to my website and take a peek. And because I am taking the last 2 weeks of June and most of July off to just be with my family for various reasons. So then it picks right back up again. So there's a few little things in there, but
good. Well, I'm glad you're taking some time.
I have a new album coming out in June. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, what's the name of your album?
You know, I don't know yet.
Oh,
I've been through 3 different options, and I'm still working on the stories. I mean, even the one I told today, I think this is only like the 3rd, 4th time I've told it. So yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, lovely. Can't wait.
You're brilliant, Kimmy.
Oh.
So let's bring Alton back on as well. And let's also bring Andy, can sit on the screen as well. Why not? Alton, tell us what you've got coming up.
Let's see. I think toward the end of June, I'm going to be in Frankfurt? Lexington. In Kentucky at a library. I think it's Frankfurt. Let's see. What I'm working on right now is I've been commissioned by my local library system to go and put together, they wanted something on cryptids. So these are creatures that are of legend and story that have never really been found, sort of like the Chupacabra, Mothman, the Jersey Devil, and Bigfoot. And so
Jersey Devil.
Yes, I am putting together little tiny blurbs on those things, and I'm working with an artist who's going to be rendering some of these mythical monsters or things that haven't yet been proved, and we're going to put together a little video to be shown at the library. So that's kind of what I'm working on. It's very exciting stuff that I would have done for free. Hey.
They're going to pay you.
Yeah, it's foolish mortals. Hey, what can I say?
Well, that's really different.
That's really
So,
cool.
Andy, can you beat that?
No, I can't, and that's I'm envious. I'm leaving actually tomorrow. I'm going to go to hang out with the Leps and watch Ellie Lepp direct Bill Lepp's King of Little Things.
Oh,
Yes,
I think
yes.
Watch that. And
Very
then,
good.
and then I will continue up, and then I'm at El Shabin with Jessica and the gang, and get sick there, and then and then I'm actually going to be on the road for a month. I'm going all the way up to Kent Lakes, New York, at Arts on the Lake, and that's the turnaround spot, and then down to Brooklyn, Philly, media, bunch of shows, and look at my website. I can't remember.
Wow. Gosh, Andy, busy boy.
Yeah, and then I drop off the face of the earth after June 27th, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'm not surprised. You'll need a bit of a break like him.
Yeah, a little break. It will be a break. July will be a break. I'll hang out with my kid.
Nice. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you all ever so much. I'm so grateful to coming on. It's lovely to celebrate our birthday with you.
It was a delight. Thank you.
But don't go anywhere because we have got Corey's song. Just quickly tell you about a couple of upcoming shows. Our next show is going to be an open mic story slam on the theme of schools out. And because Regina, hopefully she won't still be sick, but she will be away, we've got the lovely Brandon Sparse who's going to MC it for us. We've got 7 spots remaining. So if you want to do it, we just keep the story selling spots to 10 and we're guaranteed to tell. So sign up for that. It's on our website. And then our next show is going to be another braided stories show where all the storytellers will weave a personal story with a traditional tale. And that was so popular last time that we brought it back. So all the details are on the website. So lovely. Hope to see you on one of those shows. So now here we bring back lovely Regina. Can we hear you this time, Regina? You're muted. Oh, no, you're not.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you?
No.
No. Bandwidth
Regina.
issues. Bandwidth issues.
Yeah, without your video.
Is that any better?
Is
Is that any better?
Doing, doing, dang, dang.
Oh, what a shame.
I'm getting thumbs up from Alton. So I'm just going to talk to Alton.
Okay.
You're just going to talk to Walter, are you?
Right. That's probably not going to work.
Dang, dang, dang.
Sorry.
He
I'm
sounds
really
like
sorry,
he's drinking
Regina.
a
It
bottle
isn't
of
going to
vodka.
work. Pardon?
Yeah. He's the only one apparently that can hear me.
It sounds like you're talking about who was that chap who had the thing in his throat? That's what
I
it
think
sounds.
we got to
Oh,
say no.
yes.
Stephen Hawking.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That's what you sound like. Okay, so let's not worry with Regina. So instead of Regina, let's see if I can bring up our tech guru, who's very rarely seen. So it's a special anniversary treat for you all. Let's see if our tech guru will come up to the stage. Yes, there he is.
Hey.
But we'll never show his face. Goodness me, who knows what he looks like? Hi, tech guru. He won't speak and he won't see his mouth. Well, that's the 2 of the rules that we have. Not allowed to speak.
Wait. Monty Python.
So what he means by that was, what's his best or worst birthday treat? And it's his worst birthday treat, which I gave him. I've done a whole story about this, actually told it them off. And it was all about giving a lovely special birthday treat, to go and see Monty Python's play Spamalot. And I'll have to, it's too long to tell now, but it was the birthday treat of a nightmare. And I was a bit like Donna, never been allowed to arrange special treats ever again. So thank you very much for all our tech gurus. So Mr. Tech Guru is responsible for all the wonderful tech of all our shows, all the lovely borders, all the curtains. I mean, my son animated the curtains, but Mark makes it all work. And so all hail the Tech Guru. Thank you. Okay, so before we give Corey's, we're going to give away, I went and saw he had his book launch in the city, San Francisco, last night. And so he signed a copy of his book. And so this is our last giveaway tonight. Let's see who that's going to be. That is going to Marguerite Miller. Marguerite Miller, you're getting Corey's signed book. Okay, so everyone sit back. This is the brilliant, best best song. And then we'll come back and say hello goodbye to everyone at the end. So I'll see you after this.
Quiet, the world grew dark. We closed our doors, the outlook was stark. Then came two angels and a tech named Mark, who gave the world 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart Productions, a story stage for the COVID age, and opened up our hearts, even from 6 feet apart. 2 years have passed now. We've all been vaxxed now. We've seen each other and our long hair's been axed now. But that's no reason to slow the art of storytelling with 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart, 2 years. So we'll raise a glass to kicking ass, to Regina, Claire, and Mark, for giving us 6 feet apart. Thanks, guys.
That was
Isn't
great.
that the most wonderful thing ever?
Yes. I wonder what Edward would think. It was lovely. It was lovely.
So unfortunately, Corey was not able to be on our show today because he's on the road, but we love that song so much. We're probably going to play it every week because we love it so much. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody who's on YouTube. Thank you. Couldn't get to all your comments. I'm sorry about that. And everybody backstage, let's bring everybody backstage. We're going to stay and have a little bit of an after party because we're backstage. So everyone's going to stay here. But thank you very much. I hope to see you on one of our other shows. And thank you to Regina, even though she's a little bit sickly. And thank you to everybody. Okay, see you soon. Bye. And happy birthday, us.
6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. It's the newest thing to do. Stay 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. The distance between me and you. 6 feet apart, 6 feet apart. And when I say I'll keep you very close to my heart, it's purely metaphorical. These times are quite historical. So step aside, let's live our lives 6 feet apart.